his course and like a book related to his course like crazy. And so it's actually literally as I read it, like you are the client that is continually coming to mind, which is a good thing. It's because I'm thinking about all these things that we can do to help you have a better, it's like experience the things you need to experience in a way that also is not like overly complicated. Like what's the simplest thing that could allow you to your body experience what you need to? I don't know. This pistol squat is opening.
That's fine.
I'm thinking it's because it would be a lack of internal rotation though, and it may just be subtle. It may just be like a joint just subtly rotating, like almost like let's say your tibia just very subtly rotating, but not actually seeing the knee go.
Yeah.
It could very much be something like that.
And that'll bring us to a later point regarding internal rotation. But again, I'm not surprised all these things are connected. Next is the skater squat. For the record, the video that you have on the Train Heroic is different than the skater squat that I've been told to do like years ago, which was pretty much bilateral, whereas the one that you've sent is pretty much unilateral. And
yes.
On the bottom, I'll be honest with you, I can't even hold it. Like I fall to my off leg is hitting the ground. It's falling to the ground, and then I'm
like the toe, right? Like the toe of the off leg, not the knee, or
the knee.
Okay, the knee is.
I can't hold it.
You just can't control the bottom.
No, I fall. Okay. I fall.
Okay.
Like completely. I'm able to get out of it. I can strengthen my way out of it, but I'm positive based on the fact that it's a 1.5 skater squat and the video. That's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to tap your knee on the pad and then come back up. I can't do it.
Like a ballerina.
It's been. This is an example of one of those exercises that you have it in the program maybe once a week, and I've tried not to ask questions about it because I'm like, okay, it only happens once a week, but it's not improved at all. And I literally have no chance at holding it on either leg.
What point, because I'm interested, send me a video, like what point do you get where it's just like, this isn't going to happen, basically? You know, like, with my tennis players, I have to go down various depths.
Yeah.
And just because I've had it in there forever and I didn't really ever comment, I was like, oh, you must be pretty good at it, you know? Like,
oh, I mean, it's similar to the pistol squat. It's a very good thing. I know that I should be able to do this, and it's a great exercise. But yeah. Similarly, the single leg pinwheel, which I happen to love as an exercise. I know it's more of an external rotation of the hip. I tend to do it both ways. I try and internally rotate as well. You know, obviously much less, but I try and get it there. I suck at both of them. That one I still feel like, okay, there's a chance for improvement. I'm able to hold it on both legs a bit, but like they both suck. These aren't any questions, that's why it'd be quick. Next, I asked about the transverse arch. It had nothing to do with the pistol squat, actually. I just meant on a lot of the hopping movements you have me doing, like the hyper arch hop. It says in the video, land on the transverse arch. How do I know if I'm hitting the transverse arch? Because I have no earthly idea. That's one thing I don't know how to feel yet.
Yeah, that's a good one. Because even like the Chongji stuff, like I feel like it's through Darian and then David Gray and Helen Hall too that I figured it's really simple at the end of the day. It's feeling so this is my foot.
Yep.
It's just feeling all the balls of the feet. So and then with the pinky toe up bias. So pinky toes up, and I feel the full breath of my forefoot.
I mean, I always can, but per one of your other videos, I always tend to land between.
Second.
Yeah, in that first couple range. Definitely one, maybe it's two mostly. But
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me check. So I see. That was a hyper arch hop where I mentioned, work the full transverse arch basically.
It could have been that one, or you have a couple of like quarter squat typey hops and ankle hop type stuff.
Okay.
So that's that.
Is it like a single leg line hop or something like that?
Yeah, you have that in there as well, and I think that's one of the cues as well.
I got a bunch of them. I mean, I do think it's good to have different. I don't think there's one singular cue for all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'll say that. Like there is an exploration to it. Like I mean, honestly, if you did one set and it's like focus on just that second.
Yeah.
If you do one set and focus on the whole breath, like your body likes all that information.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've been trying to focus this entire time on two things. That's a lie. Three things. Also a lie. It's four things. I have it written on my whiteboard. In order, it's calf activation, which we'll talk about in a second. Then it's no rib flare, really that pelvic floor that you've been talking about, especially on the hops. I've been trying to, really try and stay in a like a squatty position, if you will. Again, I appreciate a lot of the concepts you preach. They're all obviously connected. For me, the left internal rotation of the hip has been very tough. Obviously, at the AIC stuff. I am able to crack my right back though because of that. That's awesome. My right lower back. But I also can tell that my left side does not internally rotate very much, and especially on the ISO holds, single leg, or the lunges, I can feel a slight difference when I manually internally rotate my left hip. It does feel different. And then also where my foot hits. But let's talk about. I'd rather get into the slightly bigger concepts. I know this time's kind of the essence here. Regarding the pelvis, obviously that's a big issue for me. I don't have control of my pelvis. I think is the main takeaway here. I don't control it very well, whether it's called anterior tilt or whatever, or AIC. It's all the same shit. It's really, I don't control it well. I get that. I understand that very fully now. It's very interesting to me because I am very able to sink into my left hip and like really lean on it. I can feel the crunch. I kind of asked in the past, like, should I still be doing all those PRI exercises? Obviously, that's not part of the program right now, but do I do that beforehand, afterwards? I don't know. And that brings me to the picture in the email that I sent you. I think this is actually tied to the hips as well, the pelvis as well. When I do the dead bugs, for example, here, I put in there like if I try and contract, if I really try and flatten my lower back, I get this huge arch in my stomach, as you can see in the second and third panels.
The one you're like it's from the head straight up.
Yeah, well, it's the most recent email I sent you. The blue text is on top of it.
Yeah, because I was saying I can see your stomach pops up. It's not an angle that I'm used to. Like
that,
I can see
it's almost like a pyramid. To be honest with you, that's how much it pops up. And this is not just on dead bugs. This is anytime I'm on the ground flattening my low back.
Oh, that it looks like an overactivation of. Not to talk about things. Again, I want to make the language like it's like this is wrong. Like, but it looks like you have great ab activation and your obliques aren't really doing much. Which
So
makes sense.
that was my hunch as well, just based on where the obliques are attached. I don't know if it's overly tight hip flexors or what have you. Obviously, I'm doing a lot of research on this. I'm really trying not to put this all in the emails because, again, I'm just like, okay, this is all consistent, but how do I fix it? And this also brings me back to my previous email, how my lower abs. So if I look at, sorry, I'm like doing a striptease here. Like the six-pack area. I get it. I'm a pretty skinny guy. I don't care about the visuals here. But like when I'm doing any ab exercises, even low ab exercise like the leg raise or scissors or whatever, like I can feel the six-pack area is rock hard. And I'm not flexing it. It's kind of like when you do a plank and that area it's gonna flex on its own, which is the best type of way of doing it. That's the stuff that you've always been writing about. However, the lower abs, right around the belly button and lower, I mean they're working. They are working. But they're not working hard. Like, there's a difference, like, to the touch. Like, it's rock hard versus, and, like, I have a hunch that because my low abs, which, again, kind of where the obliques kind of come in.
Yes.
I've been doing my biology research here. I think they're garbage. I don't know how to fix them. I'm going to have a pull-up bar soon. I mean, I've tried doing L holds. I've been doing L sits. I can do those for about 20 seconds a set or rep, however you look at it. Nothing seems to hit my low abs. So again, I'm not really looking for answers right now on this call because I think these are questions that you can kind of like, all right, do this exercise.
Yeah, I'm making a few notes as you go. Actually, I know a good one for that because when you, I know you have questions, so I won't really keep this long. But like if muscles, everyone just thinks that a lot of people think it's all or nothing. It's not really. Like the hamstrings or the psoas, one part will tighten up and the other part can actually lengthen.
Yeah, that happens during the isos.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And so for the abs, when you get that bar, that's gonna be good. I'm gonna give you. I have my women's swim team do this because a lot of them have a similar issue. is you're just doing a hanging leg raise, and your goal, I call it a breath hanging leg raise or an exhale, and you're just hanging, and you're trying to get your legs to lift only by exhaling, basically, and posterior tilting. So you're using, because as you exhale and posterior tilt, you're allowing that, because, I mean, your legs are going to go up like that much, but it's like that's the
I'll see it. I'll be honest, I don't quite get it, but I'll see it when you put it in there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Sorry, I know I'm being a bit, I guess, curt here.
I'm get through. Okay, you got a lot to get through.
Sorry, man. Similar to the internal rotation I mentioned, so that's it for the abs. Internal rotation, doing almost every exercise, such as a dead bug again. I can tell that my left leg is kind of externally rotating. It's rotating out. I have to manually kind of push it back in. So this is my left leg. This is balanced. It'll slightly turn. My hip will slightly turn outwards. It externally rotates.
It's externally rotating. All right. I'll write that down.
That's consistent with the whole AIC pattern. Which, yeah, sure.
That's what they have you doing at the wall to do the opposite, basically.
I'm sorry.
They have wall drills where you're kind of doing the opposite.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, where you're like kind of tilting into it. I get it. Yeah, I know.
Twisting. Or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen all. I honestly I was doing that as part of my warm up for a while. I didn't include that in the time durations I sent you. Similarly, when I sit in a deep squat, I've been trying to every single night after I stretch, literally to just sit in like a ass to grass squat. One that's really damn hard. My record right now in one set is about 4 minutes, and then it literally is excruciatingly painful. It is easier for me when I hold a 30-pound med ball, because I am really trying to keep my torso as upright as I can, and I'm just falling over forward. And the last part on that is I put that in the email, 99.9% of my weight is in my heel. That's the problem. I cannot get the heel. On the eccentric is down, same thing with on the Zercher squats and David Gray split squats, you put I can get weight into my heel, no damn problem. But I am terrible at pushing the weight into my forefoot, and that's why jumping is such an issue. That's not really a question. It's just like I know my weight is going into my heel, and I can't transition.
We have to have a new word for terrible. I'm gonna give you a replacement. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Honestly, I love your upbeat attitude, because honestly, I sound like a pessimist all the time. Believe me when I say, my birthday's coming up in like a week and a half. I'm right behind you. I'm going to be 32. If I wasn't an optimist way deep down, I would have given up on all this stuff a long time ago. So please know that there's an optimist somewhere deep in here.
That's right. I love it. Age is just a number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell that to the old body. Depth jumps, similarly, I've been trying to really land in that posterior tilt position without the paraspinal extension, which of course is tied to the pelvis control, again, all connected. But I have no idea, similar to landing on the transverse arch, I have no earthly idea whether or not I am doing it well. I can't feel the difference. So I don't know.
I have an idea for that, but I'll send you an email later.
Great. And this brings me to the biggest point. It's Darian's remove replacer point. It's versus the pigeon pose or the runner's pose, as you called it. I honestly don't know the difference. I did a lot of reading on it. They look exactly the same to me. I don't actually care for the second. The real concept that I love, and I think it's single-handedly the greatest thing that you've taught me to feel and also experience, it has to do with lunges, but also it's this hamstring activation concept. Really getting, for the record, again, I cannot credit you enough for just giving me the right cue, but I understand it now. When I pull myself into the lunge, the back of the knee, this part of the hamstring, I don't know if you can see what I'm looking at, but hopefully you know that's pulling myself lower into it.
Yes. I
genuinely love that feeling. Obviously, I can't feel it without touching it, but it's an incredibly great cue. Cannot credit you enough for that. I've been trying to feel that on all exercise movements, whether it be walking, running, jumping. I've been trying to really feel that. And I'm walking, I can kind of feel it. It almost feels like I'm propelling myself forward. I'm pulling myself forward, which is why I associate it with remove, replace, and it's why I thought that YouTube video, that Instagram lady was giving a similar concept, and it made a lot of sense to me. And this works really great in eccentric movements on my way down. But on the concentric portion, like on the David Gray split squat, again, I can't really feel it as well. Now, I'm much better at feeling it on the right leg. I'm assuming that has something to do with the internal rotation aspect of it. That my right leg internally rotates better.
Yeah.
Because I've been playing around with it. But again, I can't quite figure out how to get my left leg to always do it. And similarly, when I'm doing isos, I can almost, if I lean down, obviously I'm kind of cheating it, I can feel that part of my hamstring really working rock hard, again, without being conscious about it. Whereas on the left one, not quite as much. Again, I think this is all biosensory and biomechanic issues for me. It's really, again, never has to do with strength at the moment. But it brings me to my question, which I'm trying to... One, I don't understand really why remove, replace, and what that lady was talking about are really different. It made a lot of sense to me. Like, when you're in a running motion, you want to make sure your hip flexor isn't what's doing the lifting. Sorry, you can't really see me. But, like, where it's really the hamstring that should be pulling you forward, or upwards, or forward.
Pulling up. Yeah, well, that's the thing. So,
and that, I'm sorry, maybe this last part will help it. It reminds me very much of the LeBron jump that you broke down, which was a great breakdown. His last step to me, I mean, you really emphasized how his last step is super duper straight. It looked like it was kind of like an RDL. His leg was straight, but there was some give at the knee. And I'm watching it, and it looks like his hamstring is literally just pulling his knee forward and up. So again, I think that I'm thinking it's the same concept, but there's some nuanced difference I don't know about. I don't actually care which concept it is. I care about, like, well, how do I get this hamstring thing to be doing? Because I honestly think that my biomechanics aren't getting my hamstring to the right spot.
With that, I'll just say this: like like Gary Ward, his big thing, and I agree. It's a joint first approach. So like LeBron going to plant, his foot's gonna hit the ground. The bones are gonna spread and rotate first, and then the muscles will organize around that. It's not like the hamstring isn't like pulling him. Obviously, it's gravity and momentum is going to take his. So let's say this is his foot and this is his shin. It's going to hit straight, but then gravity's going to take it there.
Yeah.
It's just going to break down. It's not necessarily. If anything, the hamstrings are on to control. And me and Adarian and another PRI guy were all together one day at the track. Sorry, buses go by. But we were like, with the PRI guy, we were talking about iso lunges, and he's like, and Darren was doing some with co-contractions, like a hamstring and quad being on together and acceleration to stabilize. And we're like, it's really more about that, like the ability to have the two muscles on the other side of the leg while like that shin is going forward. Like, or in a situation where, let's say this is your, here's your hip, here's your knee, and here's your shin, and you're like, this is, okay, I have to actually just do this because it's not going to make sense, but like if I'm running and let's say I'm accelerating and my foot's hitting the ground, I have a co-contraction to stabilize this so the glute can actually do the work, if that makes sense. Versus, if so being able to, essentially you're just being able to contract multiple muscles.
I mean, this is, sorry, I know, put your headphones in.
Actually, it's probably not a big deal. I know we're almost done.
All right, this is exactly what David Gray, like half his videos are against the wall, you know, like co-contracting. Yeah, which I love. The problem is, against the wall, I feel it all correctly on the floor, but when I stand up, I mentioned this in the past, a lot of emails, I'm not getting any glute contraction. I'm not getting a lot of these some sensory thing is not turning on in some way that I'm not getting the right portions, the right muscle groups to turn on. And that's really what I need to figure out, how to do that. Well, let me rephrase. If you could tell me how.
Yes, well, yeah, part of it too, the sensory, if it sounds like you respond well from a sensory perspective just to pulling, like if you're in this position and the sensory is honestly just like keeping the shin and the foot with the friction against the ground stable while your hamstring activates. I mean, we can even do stuff like...
well, that's the eccentric portion, though. That's not the concentric portion. The problem is I can feel the eccentric portion great. I don't feel the concentric.
Well, that's the thing is if you could set up the eccentric, when Jay Schrader came up with all these ISOs, he talked about doing them as the ability to stay eccentric. I just would think of it like, look, if you can load the body right, then it's going to explode correctly. Like, we shouldn't have to force the concentric element. Like, if you can set everything up, like LeBron, he did basically set himself up to load correctly, and then everything else was just energy and motion. I mean, LeBron isn't a lifter. He could be, I guess, if he really wanted to be.
I know. I mean, I'm not disputing it. It's just like, obviously, at least with the David Gray split squat, on the way up, I'm like, okay, I should be feeling this concentric portion. I should be feeling some things. I'm not feeling a darn thing. I know we're short on time. I guess my only two asks, one, again, we haven't talked about calves at all because, honestly, I don't know what to feel for my calves. You're like, oh, well, you should feel the activation correctly. I'm like, I don't know what correct means. Every single day when I roll them out beforehand, the ASMR stuff, there are knots all over both legs.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason to like where they are. They're just everywhere. And yeah, I don't know how to on concentric movements. I don't know how. I think I can load, but I don't know how to unload correctly.
I understand. I think that. Let me just make a note of that, and I can try to address it here in an email. Just I mean, quickly, I think that there is a different paradigm in like running and jumping versus just a slow split squat too. Like you don't have as much elastic energy. I mean,
Sure.
I like that it is slower because like okay, load on the heel, then we want to press into the transverse arch. Like
Sure.
incomplete. It's kind of a slow rehearsal of other things, and you can curve your low back, not.
Yeah.
It helps you to do some things well, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's totally representative of what's going to actually happen in the gait cycle.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. But I have some ideas. One idea I have for you, and I'll try to send this when I respond to your emails. I'll keep this list I made in mind. But there's some those the cogs like the
wall cogs. Yeah.
I have some that I think that are internally rotation based, and again, like I said, I go through Gary's course, and I've been reading this book, like that kind of accompanies it almost nonstop since he got it in the mail, and so it's giving me some ideas that I think will be good for you, and so I'll be looking for those, and let me know when your weights come into it, and I'll start getting.
I'm actually borrowing weights from a PT I know who lives out east. I'll have about I think at least 225 in weights, including the bar. Not super heavy, but plenty heavy for where I currently am.
I feel like if you're doing a squat, like if you by yourself, like if you God forbid, but if you had to bomb it or drop it on your back.
Well, I got a rack. I have safeties.
Oh, like the whole, like nice. Wow.
I tend to when I don't half-ass much. I tend to go full ass.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a legit rack. It's like the RML whatever. It's not like the big one. It's the 2x3 one. But 1,200 pounds. I think that middle of this month, I think in a week from now, I have to re-up. If I don't do that, please know that I will. Sorry, you're stuck with me for a little bit. You're stuck with me for a little while.
No, I love it. I tell you what. As I begin this Garrett Ward stuff, it actually like has this burst of energy of trying to get you like.
Yes, let's all just focus on me. That's great. No, I'm very happy. Hopefully a lot of that stuff, speaks to you about me, which is awesome. Obviously very selfish of me, but that's great. I know you have to go, and all right, well, continue to be safe. I know things are reopening, so be good.
You too. Yeah. Be safe there in New York with everything reopening.
It's more the protests right by my house every day that are. They slashed all the tires in front of my building. I don't have a car, but they slashed everything, which is tough.
Oh my gosh. Crazy.
It's tough times, but anyway, thanks very much again, and I'll pester you on email soon.
All right, sounds good. Have a good day, man.
Bye.